Strategy describes the destination and how you're going to get there. And tactics describes the specific action that you're going to take along the way. Okay, so the destination, where am I going? Bali. Okay, the tactic, I'm going to hop on a boat and get there. This is a quote here from Sun Tzu from The Art of War. And he goes on to say, strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory, but tactics without strategy is the noise before the defeat. What he's saying here, if you're really clear about where you want to go, and if you have a good strategy, you will get there regardless of tactics. Okay, now it might be slow, but you will absolutely get there. All of those tactics I said before, from Facebook to Instagram to talks with the doc, they will all get you to more growth, to more impact, to more income, more meaning in your practice and enjoyment. But if you're just jumping on tactics with understanding the strategy in the background, you will not get there. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, folks. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Marketing Your Practice podcast, the podcast where I have the pleasure of simplifying the marketing and the mindset so you, the chiropractor, can increase your income, your impact, and your enjoyment in practice too. In today's episode, I'm going to help you get some results with your marketing, particularly your social media marketing, but actually your marketing in general as well. So if you're struggling, maybe there's some mindset things get in the way, but practically, if you don't know what to do, if you don't have a strategy, you don't understand the tactics, then today we're going to get ourselves well and truly into that. And this is part of me taking it in coming episodes, really going back to some of the fundamentals. There's a tendency amongst us as human beings, and certainly as chiropractors, to go for complexity. Now, this is almost never the answer, particularly when simplicity will do. We are attracted by bright, shiny objects, new ways of doing things. I'm going to take you through the fundamentals, okay? Now, please don't, this is the stuff that actually works. And I know this is the stuff that works because I'm working with chiropractors each and every day, and they're paying me to help them get a result. So one of the things that we're going to need to understand is the difference between, strategy and tactics, because we can get obsessed with tactics. And that is, should I be on Facebook, Instagram, this ad? Should I be doing talks with a doc, those type of things? And as you'll hear in a moment, this is irrelevant if we don't actually have a good strategy. Now, let me start with this. When you get this wrong, okay, when you don't understand the fundamentals that I'm going to take you through today, marketing and therefore practice can be really, really hard work, okay? You end up putting way more hours into this than need be. It's exhausting and it's overwhelming. There can be an enormous amount of worry that goes along with it too. Am I doing the right thing? Maybe if you're an Aussie doc, then maybe you're worried, am I going to get in trouble with APRA? There's just a worry that happens in the background. Am I spending my money in the right area there too? And ultimately what it ends up being is ineffective. And that's damn well frustrating, okay? But when you get the fundamentals right and then you back that up with some implementation, the first thing that starts to happen is there's impact. This means we're actually doing some things, we're seeing some results that happen for people who end up coming into our practice, and we're able to change lives. Now, I think there's something incredibly frustrating about having a solution to a problem that people in our community are really suffering with. Now, whether it's families or office workers or athletes, we know that we can make a difference to their life, but we're sitting in our practice and we're quiet. And we could be making a difference. We feel like we're often the best kept secret as well. So when we start to get our marketing right, we understand the fundamentals, we actually start to get some impact. And closely followed behind this impact is income also. We start to generate some more money in our practice. That takes an enormous amount of pressure off our shoulders. That means we can invest in staff, we can invest in further training, and of course we can start to live a more abundant life. And you should, because you're a chiropractor and you're making a difference to people in the world. And the final thing that happens with this too is there's an element of freedom that starts to come. There's flexibility, there's enjoyment that starts to come into our practice. We can start to make more choices. There's not a level of desperation that comes, okay? So this is what happens when we get the basics down right. Now, the first thing, so many of us have a really wacky understanding or belief system or stories in around marketing. I know I certainly did in the early days, and I don't know how it kind of got there, but, across the board, often the conversation when we think about marketers, we think about car salespeople, we think about those annoying phone calls that, how did this happen in the last 5 years where nowadays I do not answer my phone unless it's a phone number that I actually know because there are telemarketers out there calling. So there's this, unwanted and interrupting kind of pests is how we see marketing. But that's not how marketing has to be, and it's certainly not the way that it should be. I want to share a definition here with you that comes from Seth Godin, again, a wonderful marketer and a great author as well. And when I read this a number of years ago, it was pivotal for me, and it really changed the way that I began to think about marketing and helped to get me aligned from a congruency point of view as well. He says that We bring value to the world when we market. That's why people engage with us. He says, if you don't market the change that you like to contribute, then you're stealing. Okay. If you hesitate to market your offer properly, it's not that you're being shy. It's not that you're being circumspect. It's that you're stealing because there's somebody who needs to learn from you, engage from you, or buy from you. Someone will benefit from your better if you get out of the way and you market it, okay? There's a student who's ready to sign up. There's somebody who wants a guide, who wants to go somewhere. And if you hesitate to extend yourself with empathy to hear them, then you're letting us all down. Now, isn't that a very different way to think about marketing? Okay, so instead of marketing being about building your practice and all about you, I started to see marketing about changing the lives of people in my community. Now, I was up in Cairns recently and chatting to a bunch of fabulous chiropractors there, and some of them are too busy, some of them are confused, some of them are overwhelmed with all the changes that are happening there too. And so this is the reasons why they're not marketing, and these are all reasons that are about them. But if we come back to it, what Seth is saying here is there's somebody in your community who desperately needs help. Now, whether it's a young family with a colicky baby who's been down the paths of medication, whether it's somebody that's suffering with migraines, whether it's a junior athlete that's continuing to injure themselves there as well. If you hesitate to extend yourself to get outside your comfort zone there, you're letting them down and we're letting our community down. Now, does this mean that we're going to need to learn new things? Yes. Will there be areas of discomfort and uncomfort in there? Absolutely there will. But that's the purpose of life. It's expansion, okay? This is why we market. It's not about just us. It's about making a difference to our community. So first of all, we've got to be aligned with that, because if it's hard work, if it's difficulty, if it's overwhelmed, then we're just not going to push through to learn the things that we need to learn as well. The second thing that we've got to do is we've got to understand the difference between strategy and tactics. I touched on this beforehand. The mistake that chiropractors make is that they often want to jump straight into tactics first. They want to know, and tactics is asking questions like this: what's working now? It's a great question to ask, but it needs to be built on the back of strategy. Where should I be investing my time? Should I be still doing screenings? Should I be doing in-house workshops? Should I be doing, corporate talks? Should I be doing, community events there, Facebook, Instagram, you name it from there too. These are all examples of tactics, okay? But let's just define these two things first as well. Strategy describes the destination and how you're going to get there. And tactics describes the specific action that you're going to take along the way. Okay, so the destination, where am I going? Bali. Okay, the tactic, I'm going to hop on a boat and get there. Okay, now, if we're just talking about wanting to hop on a boat, but we don't know where we're going, then this is not, we need to define what the outcome is first. And this is a quote here from Sun Tzu from The Art of War, and he goes on to say, strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory, but tactics without strategy is the noise before the defeat. What he's saying here, if you're really clear about where you want to go, and if you have a good strategy, you will get there regardless of tactics. Okay, now it might be slow, but you will absolutely get there. All of those tactics I said before, from Facebook to Instagram to Talks with the Doc, they will all get you to more growth, to more impact, to more income, more meaning in your practice, and enjoyment there too, okay? But if you're just jumping on tactics with understanding the strategy in the background, you will not get there, okay? So this is why I'm spending time now on really clarifying the importance of strategy. So here's the big idea. I think this is the fundamental strategy that has worked so well for me as a chiropractor, and any of the chiropractors that I've worked with, either inside of community influence or through the podcast, that have taken this on, have seen really wonderful results. And that is this idea. The more people in your community who know you, like you, and trust you, the busier and more effortless your practice will be. So that means the strategy that I have here is getting more people in my community to know me, like me, and trust me. Okay, now I know that's what I'm going for. Know me, like me, and trust me. Now, what we're going to do in this episode through here is really going to break that down. Okay, so that's a nice kind of saying there. Maybe we could put that on a t-shirt. Know, like, trust. It's not something that I invented. This has been a marketing slogan, a marketing meme for as long as I've been studying it as well. But simply know this. Let's talk about know you first of all. There is a direct relationship between awareness and practice growth. So simply put, people can't come to see you if they don't know about you. This is the challenge when we open up a practice for the first time. Nobody knows about us, and just putting an ad in the newspaper and getting a nice business card, a website, and maybe a sign up the front, that is not knowing, okay? Now, I have said this again and again and again. I'll say it again now. Most chiropractors are their community's best kept secrets. Let me tell you a couple of funny little stories with regards to this. I work with a great chiropractor, Canadian guy, Dr. Chris. He tells a story that after being in practice for some 10 years, really frustrated with, the results, number of new patients that he was doing, he tried create a tactic, which was an open house. Now, invited a bunch of people, important people into his community, had patients coming along and their friends as well. Really well-attended event. He said a lovely lady came up to him halfway through the evening and gave him a bunch of flowers and stopped and said to him, look, we really want to welcome you here to the community. We're so thrilled that you've chosen here to open your chiropractic practice, and we hope that everything goes fabulous for you. Now, this was very sweet of her, but as I mentioned beforehand, Chris, at this stage, had been in this community for more than 10 years, and she thought he just moved in there. Now, in my practice in Port Melbourne, we had a lovely, street frontal spot, busy street right on a corner there too. And I was there for 24 years. And on a monthly basis, I would have new patients come in and say, we didn't know you were here. And they'd been in the community sometimes for decades as well. So just hanging out your shingle is not enough in most cases for people to get to know you. We need to make sure that, we're much more tactical in how we go about this. Now, the key to being known is absolutely consistency. Consistency is powerful. And this means consistency is really turning up. I think it's a Groucho Marx quote where he says that, 90% of life's success is just showing up. And you know what? I really believe that if we're just showing up all the time, it's not about necessarily showing up perfectly, but if we're showing up again and again and again, if we're doing it in a consistent way there too, then we're a good way towards getting the results. Some things that's important for us to understand is this concept that Google calls the zero moment of truth. And they were looking at billions of bits of data with how long did it take somebody online to build enough trust. And they actually talk about trust and the neurology of connection. It's some interesting language that they talk about there too. This zero moment of truth. So when I don't know about your brand till I'm confident enough to actually make a purchasing decision. Now, whether that be booking in for you as an appointment as a chiropractor, whether it be buying a car, finding somebody to help around my house. And they said there's three really important numbers here. There's numbers are 7, 11, and 4. They found on average it took 7 hours of interaction, okay? Now, most of the time, most chiropractors, there's not 7 hours of stuff that I could interact with yours online. Like if I went to your website, I could probably read every word on it in under, 45 minutes. And if I went online and flicked through there, I might buy another 5 minutes out of that too. But you just don't have the weight of information there for me to build the neurological connection that's going to make me feel safe to reaching out to you. They went on to say that 7 hours is not best consumed in one piece. It's best done over 11 different interactions. Okay, we want to start bite-sized pieces. And I really want to encourage you to watch your own behaviors online and how you start to interact with a brand. Was there something kind of popped up on your social media feed? You liked it, you read a little bit, and then it popped up again, and then you dived in a little bit more. Then maybe you found yourself over on their website. Maybe you found out they had a podcast over on YouTube, and you started to build up those hours of interactions. Okay, and again, it wasn't one interaction from there too, but it was lots of different little interactions. Now, this is the same way that people in our community are going to start to build relationships with us. And when you can start to step back and watch yourself do that, you'll find that it's really, really illuminating. Now, the third number on there was the number 4. So remember, 7 hours, 11 interactions, and 4 locations. So if we want to get the best out of our marketing, it's important that we not be just showing up in one location. So rather than just being on Facebook, we want our people to perhaps head over to our website and maybe get on our email list. And maybe they see us at a community event. Now, the more places they see us, the more room that there is and the more likelihood of there is creating connection from here. Okay. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to be on every social media platform. In fact, I really discourage that. I encourage chiropractors to really go about mastering one of them. Instagram or Facebook is a great spot to start. But where you want to make sure that you have is you need to make sure you've got some great Google reviews because they're going to end up over there. You want a great website. You certainly want to have somewhere like Facebook or Instagram. And then you want to be showing up in your community. If they were the 4 different spots that you were consistently being seen, maybe sponsoring different events there too, maybe you show up in their workplace. When you do this, you start to get a level of omnipresence. Okay, so remember, and in telling you this consistency means that also it's going to take some time there too. Now, consistency though is not just about frequency. It's also about brand consistency. And that is, when I think about brand, this is not just your colors and logos and things like this too. It's actually consistency in the message. So you can't be showing up one week being the sports chiro, and then the next week I'm the expert on pregnancy, and then the next week I'm going into something else. That waffles back and forwards, and it doesn't build consistency. It also doesn't build trust as well. So make sure that you're showing up and there's a consistent message that you're talking about. Who are the people that you want to help? Make sure you're showing up for those often there too. And again, colors and feels of your videos, those sorts of things. We want to make sure that we're doing the two. Now, again, this is not just about online and offline. There's several ways that we can do this. If we're thinking about, offline, there's two things that I think that chiropractors should be thinking about, and this is community involvement. I talked about that beforehand, and partnership marketing. So community involvement, if we think about that kind of simply from a simplicity point of view, man, I got the mumbles there too. Community involvement refers to active participation and engagement of your practice in activities, events, or initiatives that are all about benefiting the local community, okay? So this is part of you being generous where here are. This participation fosters a real sense of connection and helps to build relationships, okay? It also builds about lots of visibility. So this might be you sponsoring different events. It might be you going in and doing screenings at the local school and helping them out there. It might be showing up, once a week, once a month to kind of, community events. This is all about being generous as well. This is something that chiropractors should be doing. And if we're showing up often inside of here, okay, we're letting people know us, like us, and trust us. This should be one of the things that we're doing. The other thing in fact, let me give you some examples of that before I go on. It could be sponsoring a local sports team or a charity event. It could be participating or hosting a booth at a community health fair. It's free chiropractic workshop or seminars to community members. It's volunteering your services for local organizations, okay? It's donating to good local causes, things like that, to hosting your own community event. These are all examples of how your practice could be showing up consistently, okay, and moving towards that, 7, 11, 4 going forwards, okay? Partnership marketing is a little bit different, okay? The idea of those community events, it's quite a slow burn when we do that. Just because we show up at this place or that place there doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to get new patients next week. But partnership marketing can speed that process up a little bit more. Partnership marketing is a collaborative marketing strategy in which two or more businesses join together to promote each other's products or services, okay? These are businesses that have a common audience. These share similar goals, similar values as well. So this could be kind of co-branded promotional, joint events, content sharing, referral programs, those sorts of things as well. So an example of a partnership marketing, okay, a big one that most of us will be aware of would be Apple and MasterCard, okay? So this partnership leveraged Apple's technology and MasterCard's payment processing infrastructure to deliver a really seamless experience. Now, we have several of these sorts of partnerships for our practice. They're relationships that we have with personal trainers, they're relationships that we have with Pilates studios. They're to some extent relationships that we have with maternal health nurses and even other healthcare providers that we collaborate with, that we send patients to. That's all about making sure that we're co-branding back and forward. So these are ways that our practice gets more know, like, and trust. Okay, so there's just some offline examples as well. Now, online examples that we should be making sure that we're doing as well. So these are social media, Google Business Profile, website. These are things that, if you're going to be showing up somewhere, pick a social media avenue, okay? Facebook or Instagram. Make sure that you've optimized your Google Business Profile and make sure that your website is good, okay? These are the absolute bare minimums if we're wanting people to know us, okay? So that's what we've really covered there. This is getting people to know us, means that we need to show up consistently being frequency and with our brand. We're going to do it offline through community events and through partnerships. We're going to do it online through social media, our business profile, Google Business Profile, and through our website as well. Let's move into the next component, and this is all about being liked, okay? So the principle of liking really rests on the natural human tendency to be more influenced by people that we find appealing, okay? Now, likability can stem from lots of different factors. It could be shared interests, okay? Physical attractiveness, so, compliments, cooperative efforts, those type of things. There are several different things, but this is something we have to kind of touch base on now, is that we cannot be liked by everybody. Now, I understand why as human beings we want to be liked by everybody. It feels nice to be liked by everybody, but it's impossible. What we're trying to be, another way of saying being liked is that we want to be magnetic. And when we think about a magnet, there's two poles on it, okay? One side's attractive and the other side is repulsive. And the more attractive one side gets, then the more repulsive the other one gets there as well. Donald Trump is a really great example of this. Very attractive to some people, very repulsive to the other. So our goal is not to be liked by everybody. Our goal is to be liked by people who we want to be doing business with, okay? Now remember this. When all things are even, we like doing business with people that we like. Please don't underplay the impact of likability. All right. It's really like it's so basic and it's fundamental there too. So let's have a look at 7 characteristics of likability as well. One of them is authenticity. And I almost think that like I could just stop after this point. Authenticity is so damn magnetic, okay? We're so sick and tired of fakeness, and we can spot fakeness. We have really sophisticated authenticity radars. And authenticity in terms of we want to see the real you. And I want to encourage you inside of this to know that there is an audience for everybody. And the best version of you is absolutely enough. I was running a training just earlier on this week for community influencer members talking about authenticity. And I shared with them the top 10 selling albums of all time. Number 1 is Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. Number 2 is AC/DC. Number 3 is Shania Twain. Now, there's nothing in common with these, nothing, but there's authenticity. There's an audience for everybody, okay? So finding the real version of us. Number 2, in terms of likability, empathy. Empathic people understand and they share the feelings of others. It's, they're great listeners. They show genuine concern for other people. They're able to put themselves in others' shoes and show compassion. We like people who show great sense of empathy as well. Positivity and humor. These are obviously important things to think about too. Confidence and respectfulness. Now, again, there's a difference between confidence and arrogance. In fact, they're the opposite ends of things, because an arrogant person actually really lacks basic confidence. But, people admire those who are self-assured and confident, but not arrogant as well. Of course, we want to be respectful. And again, reliability. Don't underplay. Again, this is a bit like consistency. Those who are reliable and follow through on their promises are seen as trustworthy. They're also incredibly likable. So these are the things you want to look at. Maybe you want to, check through, how am I on those? Am I being authentic? Am I being likable as well? Confident, respectful, positive? Am I showing the appropriate levels of humor as well? These are all things that will help you be more likable. Let's move now into trust you. Okay, so we're building the foundations here of, first of all, we want people to know us. How do we go about that? Understand that it takes time. We got online and we've got offline ways to go about it. How do we go about being liked? Well, first of all, we're not going to be liked by everybody. We're going to choose who we're going to be liked by. We're going to show up in a really authentic way. And then finally, what we need to do is we need to build trust as well. A lack of trust is perhaps the single largest missing ingredient online today across all industries. It's certainly huge in healthcare post-COVID as well. And sadly, in chiropractic, trust is at an all-time low. And so we need to build trust if we're to get results with our social media. So what are some elements that will help you build trust as well? I think here, I know this is a little bit kind of airy-fairy, but intent really matters. Like, what's the purpose of your social media? And this really comes back to what I said to begin with. What's the purpose of marketing? If the intention behind your marketing is just simply so that you can buy a fancier car, a bigger house, and have a bigger bank account, then that intent will show through. But if the intent of your marketing is that you want to change lives, if you know that there's families out there that are struggling, if you know that there's athletes out there that you can make a difference to, if you know that there's people out there that's suffering that you've got a solution to, that comes through. And it comes through in the empathy and the way that you communicate. It comes through in authority, and that builds massive amounts of trust. Now, I talked about consistency beforehand being a key thing in getting people to know us, but consistency in terms of the frequency, the brand, and the message is also one of those things that's really essential in trust as well. When I'm going through that 7, 11, and 4, and I'm researching a new brand because I like what they have to offer. If I end up over on their social media and I can see that they haven't posted in 12 months or on their website, the last blog was from 4 years ago. Because there's no consistency and there's no recency there, a level of trust starts to decrease as well. The other thing that's really important if you want to elevate trust is authenticity. So remember, there's lots of crossover here between what makes us build trust and what makes us be liked. Some things to think about here is this is not about you trying to be like me or any other. There's some fabulous chiropractors online that are doing things. And so naturally, I do a lot of work with Tony Ebel and a great group over at PX Plus, and he's such a magnetic character. It's understandable that we might want to be like Tony, but that works for Tony, okay? So we want to find our own version of authenticity in there. And as I mentioned to you beforehand, there is an audience for everybody as well. Personal connection, people connect with people, not just businesses. And so this personal connection means I need to get to know you. What are your values? What are your fears? What are your frustrations? One of the ways that we can get personal connection is by showing a level of vulnerability. Dr. Paul, a great UK chiropractor, I was reviewing his social media recently, and he had a great post on there where he obviously woke up morning and his back was really, really sore. And so he was out walking at the time he was sharing this video, and he said, look, I woke up this morning, my back was horrible. And the first thing I did is sit on the couch and have a coffee and feel sad for myself. And then I realized that wasn't going to help. And now I'm out for a walk to try and work through this. He showed vulnerability, he showed that he's not perfect. He showed that at times he struggles with his health also. Now, this didn't detract from the level of trust and authority and expertise. It actually built it, okay? Vulnerability brings people towards us as well. The other thing that'll help you build trust is really good quality educational content. Content that is solving someone's problem, okay? If you can be generous with your content and you can solve a problem for somebody, that'll build massive amounts of trust as well, okay? Make sure that you're engaging with your audience, okay? It's a two-way conversation on social media. And again, where you can, leverage social proof, okay? Simply put, we look to others to guide our decisions and actions, particularly when we don't know what to do, okay? When we're in unfamiliar scenarios. And so for those of you that are Aussie docs or Kiwis that can't use testimonials, there's several other ways that we can do this. We can share reviews, but as long as the reviews are about what goes on in our practice, not about the results the patients are getting. So as opposed to me saying something like, hey, listen, I've been seeing Dr. Angus and my migraines have never been better, that would be a testimonial that we couldn't use here in Australia and New Zealand. Well, I'm not quite sure about that with Canada. I'm still a bit confused about that kind of stuff. But what most places can do, if someone said, hey, listen, I've been seeing Dr. Angus and the team for the last 6 months there too. They're amazing. It feels so warm. I feel incredibly cared for. The parking is a breeze. If you're looking for a chiropractor, you should come and see this team. That we could is APRA is okay for us having that form of social proof. But the other forms of social proof that we can have is videos and photographs with us with our patients. So Dr. Cody Hainish, chiropractor here in Australia, I've had Cody on the podcast beforehand, has a huge Instagram account where he just shows his adjustments, shows people laughing and smiling after adjustments and his amazement with the adjustment as well. That's all. There's no testimonial. There's no before or after. It's just showing his work. And he gets wonderful numbers of people reaching out to him because of social media, okay? Let's bring all of this back together again. It's important, first of all, that we understand why we're marketing, okay? We market because we want to make a difference to the people in our community. We won't market just to grow our practice. It's okay for you to improve your income, okay? You should be wealthy beyond all belief, and I believe that only makes the world a better place because the more money we have, the more we can put back into circulation, we can employ people, we can give, we can make a difference there too. But if it's only about that, okay, then, something's going to get in the way. We need to have our marketing built on the back of we're making a difference to people, we're solving problems. Go back to that Seth Godin quote that I had there. We need to understand the difference between strategy and tactic. The strategy I've spent all of this episode talking about is our goal is to have more people know us, like us, and trust us, okay? We get people to know us by showing up consistently. 90% of life success is just by showing up consistently in terms of message, consistently in terms of brand. Online, we're going to make sure that we've got a good website, we've got a Google all sorted out there too, and we're choosing a social media platform. Offline, we're going to have some community partnerships and some community involvement, okay? If we want people to like us, then authenticity is the key. I shared several things in there, but authenticity. If we want people to trust us, then be generous. Again, authenticity, consistency, provide valuable and helpful content. That is the big idea that you need to understand. And if we're prepared to play the game with this over the next 90 days there too, that's what it will take you to see some results with this. Now, if you have any particular questions about this episode, if there are some missing pieces in there that prevent you from getting started, I want you to reach out to me either on the socials or I want you to reach out to me on an email because I want to have absolutely nothing in the way of you moving forwards. When we as chiropractors get better at what we do, the world gets healthier, okay? We become less of our community's best kept secrets, and that's only a good thing for the health of this planet. As always, folks, thanks for all that you do. Keep saving lives. Your community needs you to understand and implement all of this. See you back here next week. Bye. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out my Community Influencer Program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work with you to help you apply it, implement it, and systemize it. The Community Influencer Group Coaching Program is designed to help you increase your practice income, impact, and enjoyment. Join me over at anguspyke.com/join. That's anguspyke.com/join. I'd love to see you there.